This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. A Tasmanian man has been found guilty of murdering his neighbour by a Supreme Court jury. 66-year-old Lotta man Kerry Alexander Bilston shot dead Dean Peter Manshandon last October following an ongoing dispute about land boundaries. The victim's family today saying they'll never forgive the man that took their son and brother away.
After a year of heartache, Dean Manshandon's family feel like justice has finally been served.
I'm happy with the verdict, that's all. Okay, thank you.
The family breaking down in court after the jury returned its unanimous guilty verdict. It took them 5 hours to find Kerry Bilston murdered 47-year-old Dean Manshandon on October 15 last year by shooting him in the back of the head with a shotgun slug from 30 metres away. The victim's mum said she heard about her son's death on the radio. Dean was my life, she told the court. Half of me is lost. The impact of his death is too much for me as a mother to deal with. Dean's sister described her little brother as her moral compass. I admired him and his love for life. He was a craftsman. Nature fascinated him. I thought he was fearless and invincible. The deceased's father adding, I struggle each and every day with trying to understand why Bilston would do this to my son. Throughout the trial, Mr Bilston said he only intended to shoot above Mr Manshandon's head to scare him and not actually hit him. His lawyers argued he and his partner had been verbally abused and threatened by Mr Manshandon daily, including just moments before the murder. Bilston showed no emotion as he heard his verdict. Prosecutor Darryl Coates accepted the killing was not premeditated, saying it resulted from the 66-year-old losing his temper, which was out of character. Bilston has no prior convictions. He'll spend the next 2 months behind bars before being sentenced in February. Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
A swathe of new Tigerair flights are taking off from today, providing 16 new services between Tasmania each week. Tourism bosses say the move will boost visitation in the lead up to the peak season. But the inaugural flights got off to a bad start, with passengers experiencing short delays.
This morning's takeoff a milestone for Tigerair and Tasmania. The airline's first flight between Hobart and the Gold Coast.
Oh, it's a great day for Tasmania's visitor economy and for our community. New, affordable, regular flights between Hobart, the Gold Coast, and an extension of services from Melbourne.
There's now 4 weekly return flights to the Gold Coast and an additional 4 return flights to Melbourne. The services providing close to 3,000 more seats through Hobart Airport. They'll continue through the summer peak until a review in April.
As with all of our services, we monitor demand and, quite frankly, we fly where demand dictates. That's why we're urging Tasmanians to get on board these new services. The more demand for them, the more opportunity for expansion of services down the track.
We had 168,000 visitors from Queensland last year. That grew by 12%. We know that people want to come if they can fly directly.
But there was slight turbulence for today's inaugural service, with passengers experiencing short delays.
The flight coming in this morning was slightly delayed out of Melbourne just due to air traffic control, but we're hoping for an on-time arrival into the Gold Coast this morning, and that's our commitment to our customers, is to deliver affordable and reliable flights, which is what our customers demand.
The Hobart flight touched down on the Gold Coast with great fanfare, even if it was 20 minutes late. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Repairs to the Beaconsfield mine are reaching their apex, with engineers relying on blind faith when pouring tonnes of concrete below the structure today. It isn't the only headache for the local council, which is staring down a budget blowout after initial repairs ran into trouble.
A convoy of concrete trucks rolls into Beaconsfield. Gushing 500 cubic metres of concrete so far below the surface, engineers can't tell if it's being sucked up in cavities.
We're working blind underground, and if there's been anything we've learnt, it's that underground mining, underground work is something we'd rather not be involved in.
It's another painful step for engineers who were first caught out when water was found deep below the surface. That snag sent the budget into a black hole. The initial $1.5 million price tag is now closer to $2 million.
This has been the most challenging thing we've faced, certainly that council has faced.
The good news is the worst is almost over. Today's stage is the last where concrete is being poured blind underground.
Today we'll grout up to the blockage and from there it's relatively straightforward.
The big loser during these works has been tourism. The local council says visitor numbers to the museum have dropped by 7%, or more than 3,000 people per year.
It's an economic driver, certainly, for the central northern part of the state.
The council expects the yard to be partially open to visitors next week. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
The Premier is refusing to contemplate his party falling back into opposition, despite new polling showing an election deadlock. Will Hodgman is losing grip on popular Labor leader Rebecca White, with the Jackie Lambie network tampering chances of a majority government.
A stroll along Kingston Beach, possibly not the most relaxing for the Premier just a day after disastrous new polling has his popularity sliding.
My question to Tasmanian voters would be, why on earth would you want to go back?
With figures revealing the closest poll in 7 years, a deadlock for the two major parties is spelling out an embarrassing possibility for the Liberals.
It's possible in this poll that Labor could have more seats. That doesn't necessarily make a difference if it still results in the Greens having the balance of power.
Increasing support for the Jackie Lambie network posing a potential seat win. On the eve of announcing her candidates for Bass, voters appear to be lured to alternatives.
It's going to be very hard for the Hodgman government to sell the message that only they can win a majority on these numbers.
Clearly, people are tired of secret deals behind closed doors that are favouring a few interests over the rest of Tasmanians.
The Liberals crunching their own numbers.
The Liberal Party is starting with 15 seats. The Labor Party is coming from 7. We are the only party, that is the Liberal Party, that can win majority.
Labor is on the rise. We are winning seats in elections. We are campaigning, and we are campaigning to win majority government.
A Premier not yet willing to say if he'd fall on his sword if the polls ring true in March.
I'm not contemplating that scenario. I'm focused on the next 3 months, a very strong, hard, positive campaign.
Hopes a positive campaign will deliver a different result to a negative campaign last month. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
The Energy Minister is under pressure to reveal if a state-owned company is giving Victorian farmers a better deal than Tasmanian producers. During government business scrutiny hearings, Hydro was questioned on its Momentum Energy entity. It's currently offering the Victorian Farmers Federation a special energy discount for members. The Minister wouldn't say if Tasmanian farmers are getting a raw deal under retailer Aurora Energy.
That's really specifically a question for Aurora Energy, and of course that hearing was yesterday.
Given that we don't have particularly low energy costs in this state, it's a little galling when mainland farmers are actually getting a discount.
The government says it's currently providing energy rebates for eligible business customers. A 3-year project aimed at improving the quality of pastures across the state has today been launched. The $690,000 project will use technology to develop a program to improve pasture management.
We need to improve our pasture production so we can, in effect, have more numbers of sheep and cattle and turn off better quality stock as well.
The Minister for Primary Industry says it will also increase livestock production and job prospects within the red meat industry. The project is part of the government's Agri-Food Plan to grow the value of agriculture to $10 billion by 2050. 3 Burnie residents are lucky to be alive after faulty Christmas lights sparked a fire. The blaze ripped through the home in the early hours of the morning, completely destroying it. Damage is estimated at around $300,000. The fire is believed to have started in a small connection box on a Christmas light set.
The investigation officer believes that fire may have started in or around the circuitry to the Christmas tree lights, which was inside the house. This time of year, people are bringing out their stored Christmas lights and setting things up for the festive season. Obviously, they've been stored away for most of the year. So we just like people to make sure that they're in good working, operating order.
Also last night, firefighters responded to a fire at a unit in Rokeby. The building was destroyed, causing an estimated $150,000 damage. The cause of the blaze is being treated as suspicious. Tasmania Police has saved a stricken vessel drifting off the state's west coast after it lost power and broke its anchor in 20-knot winds. Police from Strawn found the fishing vessel north of Cape Sorel after distress flares were let off. Police say a much larger and more costly search was avoided because the crew was carrying proper safety equipment. Meanwhile, police have charged a 43-year-old Claremont man over 2 robberies on Saturday. It's alleged the man threatened staff and fled with cash from the Hobart Subway and Derwent Park KFC. The alleged offender turned himself into police and was detained to appear in court. Anyone with further information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. For the first time in the event's history, the annual Southern Schools Triathlon Challenge has been forced to scrap the swim leg due to an excess in E. coli in the water from the recent rain. But it didn't stop around 1,000 high school students from turning out to compete for the 10th edition of the race at Bellreef Beach today.
It's sort of really targeting lifestyle and being active and embracing physical activity. So, you know, we've got lots of students that have gone through that have gone on to represent the countries. Jake Burtwhistle, who's been selected in the Com Games.
More than 2,000 primary school students are expected to turn out for the final day of competition tomorrow. Soggy bottom fever has hit UTAS, with school children from around the state taking part in boat building and racing activities at the UTAS summer camp. The students spent 4 days designing and making their cardboard boats ready to get off and racing today for the land race. The annual Soggy Bottom race will be held on Waverley Park Lake in March. One of Tasmania's most iconic species is the focus of a new exhibit at TMAG. The remarkable Tasmanian Devil show explores our state's history with the animal, its biology, and the desperate fight to save it from ongoing threats.
Standing guard, a Tasmanian Devil greets visitors at the start of what's said to be the biggest exhibit dedicated to this iconic animal.
We want to tell Tasmanian stories, and you can't get more Tasmanian than Tasmanian Devils.
The exhibition spans 3 rooms, exploring Tasmania's history with an animal that was once considered a menace. Its iconic status grew. It was even sent to war as a mascot and gifted to the Queen. A 1950s cartoon plays showing Taz from a Looney Tunes favourite.
This exhibition will appeal not only to visitors but also to locals, and I'm hoping that people who have lived all their lives hearing about Tasmanian Devils will come into this exhibition and they'll hear some new stories.
The biology of the world's largest surviving carnivorous marsupial is on display. Visitors getting an inside look into burrows, the behaviour of devils and the important role they play in our state's ecosystem.
They're important for being an auditor in themselves. They do hunt as well as scavenge, so they help suppress disease in their prey animals. They certainly clean up the bush, if you like.
The final room explores threats to the icon and the desperate fight to save the endangered species from the devastating facial tumour disease and contagious cancer that's ravaged populations by 97%.
This is very timely to look at the past, to see what we know about the Tasmanian devil and apply that to the future in the face of this extinction through this devil facial tumour disease.
Wildlife biologists hope the exhibit will serve to educate Tasmanians about our unique fauna.
This is yet another example for us to pay more attention to wild places and wild things. It's not all about people.
The exhibition runs until May with a special family day this Sunday. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have closed higher after a strong day for the big 4 banks and most other heavyweight stocks. The ASX 200 index has risen by 32 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 75.46 US cents and 63.94 euro cents.
The Hobart Hurricanes have finalised their list for the upcoming BBL season, with local paceman Riley Meredith rounding out the squad for 2018. Despite being plagued by injury for the past 2 years, Meredith has shown glimpses of what he's capable of in 2018 and hopes the best of his bowling is yet to come.
It wasn't long ago that Meredith was being touted as one of the state's best cricketing prospects, but a stress fracture in his foot has limited his ability to shine. Now the paceman says he's fit, firing and ready to prove his worth, starting with the Canes pre-season matches next week.
Probably go up to Sydney next week, have a few practice games and hopefully have a few good performances and put my name out there.
Meredith says he's well aware how tough it will be to earn overs in the side, considering the calibre of bowlers in the current list.
Yeah, definitely there's a lot of quicks out there, obviously the 2 internationals, but that's good. A lot of competition is good for the squad.
Even if Meredith gets limited game time for the Canes, he says he'll still relish the opportunity to learn from some world-class players, including international signing Tamal Mills.
I'm really looking forward to spending the next 6 weeks with him and picking his brain, hopefully getting a few tips.
Meantime, the Under-19 National Championships has made its way north, with Tasmania taking on South Australia at the NTCA grounds. The competition continues throughout the week at pitches around the state, with finals beginning next Tuesday.
The North Melbourne Football Club has committed to giving more Tasmanian footballers an opportunity to perform in front of AFL talent scouts, with a new deal struck allowing players game time in the VFL, meaning less of our best have to leave the state to follow their dream.
It's a win-win, according to AFL Tasmania.
We make no apologies. We want the best talent, Tasmanian talent, playing in the best competition, which is the State League. So we're trying to do whatever we can to retain Tassie's best players.
So as of next year, North Melbourne's new VFL side will have access to the TSL talent pool as they see fit.
They can stay here, play in the Tassie State League, still get an opportunity to play a handful of games at the VFL and hopefully improve their footy and, who knows, maybe even catch the eye of AFL talent scouts.
Saunders says Roo Scouts will be in regular dialogue with TSL clubs throughout 2018, with access to playing footage on a week-to-week basis. And it's not just the men set to benefit.
And for the women, it'll be for the Melbourne University team, which in effect is their feeder team for the 2019 women's team.
And while AFL Tasmania can't guarantee the initiative will lead to more Tasmanian footballers realising their dream of playing at the highest level, at the very least, Saunders says it will provide a taste of the level they need to be at to do so.
The idea is the VFL coach will talk to the TSL coach, and I know those conversations are going to happen over the summer period about the type of players they're going to be looking for.
Tasmanian cyclist Macy Stewart has launched the Jayco Herald Sun Tour's first women's title. The 21-year-old was in Melbourne for the announcement as she prepares to enter with the TIS racing team. The 2-day women's event will feature a 123-kilometre road stage followed by a time trial.
I think the 1.6 kilometre time trial will definitely be my strongest point, but I'm also really excited to get out in the road race and really see what I can do against the road girls.
The Jayco Herald Sun Tour is Australia's oldest cycling stage race, having run for nearly 70 years. It was a night for the underdogs at the Mowbray Racecourse overnight, with the favourite for the $100,000 Conquering Stakes Hell of a Street overrun in the home stretch by 5-year-old gelding I'm Wesley.
It's charged the lead. I'm Wesley. Hell of a street trying to lift. Running on down the outside as Killen falls, but the Newmarket winner, I'm Wesley's going to take the Conquering. I'm Wesley, a brilliant win.
There was another surprise winner earlier in the night, with gelding Mr Songman storming home to steal victory from Gigi Lynette and race favourite Patina Arena in the 3-year-old Cup.
Mr Songman is raising an effort on the outside. Gigi Lynette, Mr Songman goes home the better. Mr Songman got up to win it over Gigi Lynette.
The state's racing season continues with the 3-year-old Trophy and Tasmanian Stakes on the 20th of this month.
Good evening. Hobart 21 today, Launceston 22, Burnie and Devonport reached a high of 20. 24 was the top around the state at Cressy and St Helens. Fingal 23, Friendly Beaches and Campania 22 today. Bushy Park 21, Wynyard and Flinders Island 20, King Island, Low Head and Grove 19. Lyre Weenie a bit cooler, top of 14. Now, there is cloud spiralling around a low which is moving off over the Tasman. That's out of our way at the moment. A cold front is approaching the state with a large area of cold cellular air behind it. That's being pushed over southern parts of the mainland as well. Some patchy cloud over central Australia with a trough. Convective cloud developed over the state today ahead of the oncoming front, and hopefully some rain for those that need it. Tomorrow the high becomes more dominant over the Bight as the front moves over the Tasman Sea. A series of heat lows lie along a trough over the north and west of the country. Now for tomorrow, the winds will turn west-northwesterly at 15 to 25 knots and to 30 knots over the west and south during the evening, swells picking up to 3 metres. Strong wind warning for waters between Tasman Island and Sandy Cape, and from Stanley to Cape Portland, a minor flood warning for the Jordan and Macquarie rivers. Friday, possible afternoon shower in Hobart, a top of 18 degrees, 18 the high for Huonville, 19 for Campania with that afternoon shower forecast. An early shower for Launceston, 20 the maximum, 19 for Devonport, mostly sunny for Georgetown and 18 degrees. Burnie partly cloudy and 19, a shower or two for Strawn, 18 the maximum and 19 for Wynyard. And for St Helens, showers easing, 19 the top, 17 for Swansea, 18 the high for Port Arthur. UV at 10 across the board, very high. On Saturday, a few showers, mainly over the west and far south, easing in the afternoon. Mainly fine on Sunday with a chance of a shower over the west and far south. A shower over those same areas again on Monday with cloudy weather elsewhere. Mostly sunny in Perth tomorrow, a morning shower in Adelaide, a clearing shower for Melbourne, showers and possible storms for Sydney, Brisbane, Alice Springs and Darwin. It's cloudy and 18 in Hobart, 17 right now in Launceston and Devonport. Joe, I turned off the sprinklers 3 days ago waiting for all this rain. Grass is dying. What are we going to do?
Well, start getting your forecasts right in the weather. It'd be a good start. We'd all appreciate it. Thank you very much, Murph. That's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. Let's hope there is some rain in the morning. Bye for now.